3 cards from one suite, each under 15 minutes. That's what we're making today in this Sweet and Simple class featuring Moonlit Flora by Stampin' Up. For the first card, I'm using a basic white thick cardstock card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of basic white 4 by 5 1/4 that is embossed with the Fern folder in this suite. I'm going to go straight ahead and glue that down with some liquid glue, making sure I got it all around the edges. And make sure your card base is the right way around. Oh, let's wiggle that into place a little bit more. So there we go. So instantly lots of texture on the card. We're going to set that aside and let that dry. Then I have a piece of Sea Cardstock, and I die cut the largest square from the Stylish Shapes dies, and I'm going to layer that on here. I'm not going to use my liquid glue for that because designer series paper has a tendency to show, you know, if you have a blob of adhesive somewhere, then that might just kind of push through. So largest Stylish Shapes, and this Secret Sea piece is cut to just a little bit over, I want to say 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. Okay, so we have that. And now here's one of my absolute favorite ways to use up ribbon, and this is Secret Sea. Let's so this is the bordered open weave ribbon, Secret Sea, and as you can see, I'm out pretty much. So but I really wanted to use a piece that I had actually kind of played around with to make a big piece of like a knot, but then I wasn't happy with it, so I decided to trim that apart, but now it looks kind of wonky. However, what I like to use with bits and pieces of ribbon like that is I take a mini glue dot and just put it at the end of my really weird looking ribbon there and fold that in half. And it's a little bit tricky with the open weave ribbon because it does get deformed very easily. And now all I'm doing is grabbing another, let's see, which way are we going to go? Oh, we're going to go that way. Going to pick up another mini glue dot so I can layer this behind my square, and that just gives me a nice little accent piece there. But this looks a little bit too stretched out for me. We'll see if we can fix that. I mean, I still want my card to look nice even if I'm using up scraps of ribbon. So I didn't plan for this little trick to take up so much time, but anyways, we'll leave it at that. It's fine. So it's just against a card base. It's just giving a little bit cute accent piece there. And then I have a label where we're going to stamp our sentiment in Secret Sea. Whoops. You are an amazing friend. Make sure I have that inked up well. Let's see, getting that on there straight. Okay, looks good. Giving that a second to dry. And then I also stamped, there's two, well, I'd say one is a moth, one is a butterfly. This is definitely a moth. So, and this is a little bit larger than that extra, the smaller moth or butterfly. So this is the larger image of the two. And I stamped that also in Secret Sea. And for me, this designer's, I mean, this, I think it's supposed to be Peaceful Pine, which is a gorgeous new in color, but I feel like this looks a little bit more garden green to me. Now, we don't have garden green Stampin' Blends, but here is my little tip. Because before we had Stampin' Blends in all the colors, in almost all the colors, we had our blender pins, and we still carry these. Stampin' Up still sells these in, I want to say, a package of 3. And these are great for using them with the watercolor pencils, but you can also just use them with our ink pads. So I have my garden green ink pad here. And make sure you have a tip that isn't too yucky. And just pick up a little bit of your garden green. Now I'm trying to not run over the stamped lines, but I'm just bringing in a little bit of color here on my moth. So I can pick up the color from the ink pad, and I'm just carefully dabbing that. I'm not trying to make this perfect because I want a little bit of like a watercolor look, just a little bit around these dots. So it's a very light, oh, I can never remember which, you know, if you have a color, which is a tint, which is a shade, which is a tone. So, and anyways, that's all I wanted to, let's see. I'm going to add a little bit more around here. I don't want to smear these too much, but I do want a little bit of color around these dots as well. So very light touch. And then just make sure you kind of clean out the tip. And I've had these for years, so they really last a long time, and you have 2 tips. So yeah, these are still great to use, and I'm glad we still have them because we do not have Stampin' Blends in all the colors. I think the reason is because when they actually create those Stampin' Blends, that some colors, because you have a light and a dark Stampin' Blend, they sometimes, I think the colors are just too similar, so it wouldn't make sense to have its own little package of Stampin' Blends. All right, so then for the final assembly here of our card, you know what, this is bothering me too much. I had another piece of that ribbon somewhere, so I'm going to switch that out real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just went ahead and I created another one that looks a little bit nicer. So I'm going to place that on there. Okay. Oh, I forgot to add another dimensional. Not dimensional, mini glue dot. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and put that there. Again, this is taking way longer than I had planned for it to be. Okay, there we go. Now that looks nice and even. Okay, perfect. I'm going to glue this down now with some liquid glue. Less is more. But I do put a little bit of adhesive also on my ribbon. Of course, if you want to, you can pop this up with dimensionals. But I'm also planning to use, I'm planning on using dimensionals on the label. So I don't want my card to get too bulky. That's just asking too much for it to hold up in the mail, I'm afraid. Okay, so that looks good. coming together. And now we're adding some dimensionals here. I can actually use up some edges. Let's see, 3. Oh, that might have been a little bit much. This is the way my sentiment goes. And we'll use up this piece. Well, if that doesn't look ugly, but it's okay, because we wanted to hold up. Maybe not in court, but on our cart when mailing. And now these are not coming off. Okay. But it's easy to forget about the edges on your cards. Let's put a little bit, another edge piece there. Okay. So, oh, I didn't push that down there. And now we're going to put our sentiment here. Just have that hang over a tiny bit. I'm afraid I have too much dimensional over here. So I just need a tiny bit shorter. Oh gosh, I didn't think I would struggle this much with just the first card. But just bear with me. You don't want to miss the other 2 really beautiful cards. Okay, so just, yeah, leave it at that. Okay, and then we have our little moth. And I'm going to struggle just as much now with the dimensionals, I guess. I want to place it up here. And it looks like the sun is going away a little bit. I was just thinking, why is it getting so dark? I'm trying to really make use of that beautiful big window. And that's the downside to it when you're shooting with daylight. You never know when it's going to let you down. Okay, I'm going to trim down. I don't want that much dimensional, so I just need a little piece there. So we're going to take another border piece, really using those up today. And it's going to be up here with the antennas. I know that. Okay. Bending up the wings a little bit. Just so cute. So it's sitting there up on our label. And if you feel like a little bit of bling, there are these dewdrops embellishments that go with the suite. So I'm going to put a, oops, oh. Small one down here. There. And a larger one. Oh no, that's the worst. Getting, you know what? No, I didn't want the spatula, but it just, okay. We'll manage, we'll figure it out. I feel like everything that could go wrong is going wrong right now for a very just sweet and simple card. So, but we managed, we got it done. And there you go. I might have to color correct here a little bit in the editing, but that is card number 1. The second card will be in landscape, but again on a basic white card base. Then I have some designer series paper from the Moonlit Flora pack, and I'm going to glue that down with some Stampin' Seal all around on a piece of Secret Sea cardstock. That's definitely the defining color here in this class for me. Okay, so just lining that up. And then I have a piece of basic white that is a bit bigger, and I embossed that again with the Fern Flora embossing folder. So the embossing folder has the same name as the bundle. So for this, I'm going to use some liquid glue again. To me, the liquid glue is just better for embossed pieces because it will just go into all the tiny little crevices. So which way? You kind of have options. Okay, so just trying to line that up nicely like my designer series paper. Okay. So, and then to make this a little bit less of a harsh edge, I'm going to take another piece of Secret Sea and I'm going to glue that right down there in the middle. Okay. Grabbed right into it. You know, it's like when your toast falls on the floor, it will always fall on the on the side with the butter, right? Oh, look at that mess now on my finger. I'll be okay. It'll be okay. So just lining that up. So this is a half-inch strip. So perfect way to use these up. I know we all have them. If you love to cut layers like these for your cards, then you probably have lots and lots of like half-inch strips. Okay, so then we can go ahead and glue that down onto our card base. Making sure it opens the right way, and I hope I don't have all that glue on me now. Right there in the middle. So this way, again, you have lots of texture on your card with the embossed layer with the matching designer series paper. Comes just together so quick and easy. I die cut 2 of the fern types. This again, Secret Sea, and then for this one I picked Mossy Meadow. I'm going to layer those with a little bit of liquid glue. Let me bring in my silicone mat. There we go. Just going to dab that on. This way I don't have to squeeze the bottle and be afraid that there's going to be a whole lot squirting out. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my silicone mat. Picking that up and just dabbing it everywhere. Of course, if you have adhesive sheets, and you don't be like me, I always forget to reorder some more adhesive sheets. And then I always remember that I need to order some when I actually need them for a project. So these would be great to use with adhesive sheets. Okay, but that should be fine. And then I'm going to glue this down here. And this will create a nice organic transition from this part to this part, as if the fern is growing out of the paper onto the other side. And then doing the same thing, let's get a little bit more liquid glue and just tap that on here. So for this one, really, adhesive sheets would be perfect. Come on. Just trying to get a little bit of glue everywhere. But sometimes it's a little bit tricky because it glues, it dries clear. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about our Tombow glue, that you won't see it anymore. So we're going to layer that on here. I think this shape might actually be my favorite in the whole pack of dies. And then for the last part, now if you wanted to, you could add some twine here. Now for the last part, using the same label, so you can switch this out and stamp this with, you know, any sentiment that you want. Bringing back the Secret Sea. Is that straight? Well, be brave. Wow, but I grabbed right into that ink on my block. Okay, so I'm not gonna mess with that right now. I'm gonna put that aside somewhere. And yeah, I just went ahead and I wiped it in my pans. It's water-based ink, so it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Okay, so now sometimes when I have a whole bunch of die cut elements, what I like to do is put my label over it and then see where I can go with my dimensionals. Well, I could do it this way too. So right there, and then I guess I could use up a little piece down here. I'm really afraid smearing my label here now, so whoop, but that looks good. Okay, so almost done, almost done. Let's see if we can make it through this little mess here without smearing Secret Sea all over our beautiful white parts. And now I'm hesitant to touch it. We'll be fine. Okay. Let's use something clear to push it down. And there you go. Just a sweet, simple card, but lots of texture in there. And I'm not going to use those jams on here because I really wanted this to be a kind of very neutral card. Beautiful but neutral. So if I wanted to send this to a man or, you know, maybe a young guy, then I don't know, I wouldn't want to have the jams on there. All right, and that's card number 2. For card number 3, I have a larger piece of Designer Series paper that I'm going to glue down on some Secret Sea that is cut to, let me double check, to 3 3/4 by 5. And I die cut a banner that I want to layer on top. So I just die cut that from the middle because no one's going to see it. Plus it saves me a little bit of weight on my card when I want to mail it. So that goes on here with a nice even border all around. And I just love how that soft sea foam pulls out the soft sea foam here on the fern. And now I can go ahead and glue this down to my card base. And of course I had to make it basic white. No, I didn't have to, but you know me. Or maybe you know, you don't. Maybe you're new to my channel. Hi, I'm Anna and I love white card bases. So I just feel like it's like a canvas, and it really just makes all the beautiful colors pop. I don't need an extra layer on the inside because we're all about sweet and simple, quick and easy here. And I saw that I have a little bit of a dent down here on my card base, so I'm gonna smooth that out with my bone folder. Already pretty. And then I'm taking the banner. So this is from the Party Banners dies. And let me check my notes. It's the 4th smallest. And I'm going to bring in some soft sea foam. And this large fern stamp. So I'm going to ink that up. Because I want to stamp this here as a background. Like this. So tone on tone. And put that aside if I find some space. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. Then I have the label again. I'm gonna stamp on that in Secret Sea. So all of the larger sentiments in the set work with that label. So this is going to be a thank you card. Thankful for you. Do you see that? So as you can see, it happens to me too. I get ink on my box on the outside all the time. Just gotta make sure we don't get that on our fingers. Okay. Okay, let that sit for a second. And then I went ahead and I stamped the flowers in the set, also in Secret Sea. And then I'm bringing in some scrap paper because we're going to color that. And I'm using Berry Burst, the light Berry Burst, but you can use whatever color you have. I'm just trying to pull in that purple, that Berry Burst from the paper. And I'm using the flowers as inspiration, kind of. So going to just color them. And I'm just dabbing onto my stamped image. I'm not even fully coloring all of it. Usually I do it sitting down, so if you can see some of my beautiful gray hair right now, I'm just trying to get a little bit closer. So I'm not even like doing strokes. I'm just dabbing the color onto my stamped image. Because it is alcohol-based ink, so it is going to spread a little bit on its own. So just a little bit of color in the middle. And I think that was all the petals. Now, if you wanted to have a little bit more in there, you can go back in and just dab it a little bit more at the bottom. If you wanted a little bit more texture, or you could use the darker one first and then use the lighter one. I will show you what I mean here in a second when I color the leaves in Old Olive. Okay. So Berry Burst and light, and then bringing in Old Olive. So using the dark one, and where I would kind of expect it to be a little bit darker on the leaves. So I'm just going into each leaf and add a little bit of the dark Old Olive. And then I'm coming in with the light Old Olive. And I'm not going to spread it out this way. I'm trying to push some of that darker color away. So I'm going from the other direction. If I can, I'll zoom in for you a little bit. But I'm going towards from the outer edges into the darker color, because what's going to happen is my old olive in light is going to push back a little bit of that darker old olive. So you get more of a gradient, color gradient there. I hope I'm making sense. So there's so many different techniques with Stampin' Blends or alcohol markers that you can do, but that's just kind of what I found works best for me. All right, so there we go. There's our flower. And can you see how that old olive, the lighter shade, is on the tips, and then it gets kind of darker, and so it just pushed the darker old olive a little bit further back. All right, so those are all the pieces that we need, so we can go ahead and assemble the rest of the cards. I'm going to use some liquid glue here on my banner. And I just realized that I forgot something, so we'll see here in a second if I can grab that pretty quickly. If you wanted to, of course, you could pop up this banner with dimensionals. But we're going to pop up our sentiment, the label. Okay, then a little bit of glue on the flower. Well, that really was just a little. So that goes up here. So I know that looks kind of odd. Just give me a second. And now what I forgot was I actually had planned to put some twine on here. So let's see if I still have, oh yeah, okay, I still have some. So I'm cutting a bigger piece of linen thread. Well, let's tie our bow first, and then I'll see where that goes. So just some linen thread. Can I give it a haircut? I don't like it when it kind of frays. Wow, I'm really picky with my ribbon and twine today. Well, but we do put some time and effort into our cards, so we want it to look nice. Okay, how's that? Yeah, that looks cute. It's gonna twist and turn anyway, so we're not even gonna try and control that. But I want to put it right there. So let's bring in the mini glue dots one more time, and I need to rip some of this off. It's driving me crazy. Okay, there's our mini glue dot. And I want to put my label right there. Oh, now it's gonna go the opposite way of how I want it, but that's okay. Just give me a second and I'll get it to stick how I want it to stick. Okay, I want it to be a little bit more vertical or more at an angle. Can we get it to stick this way? All right, and then our label will go on top. Yep, okay, so I know I need a dimensional over here and over here. We can take these off. see. Maybe right there. All right, again, be brave. All right, there we go. So now if you wanted to, you could trim this a little bit shorter. This friend over here is a little bit too wild. Now, it's going to go wide. Oh, there we go. We kind of got it. We got it to settle. Okay, and then I'm bringing in those embellishments one more time. And making sure, I think I just had too much of that putty out. That was probably the issue. And so I'm taking a small one, just like on the other card. I'm putting a small one over here. And one down here, a larger one. Okay. And if you have those bulky embellishments, I mean, these are nice, but so what's probably going to happen in the mail is that this might be pushed down. So I'm not going to put in dimensional there, so there is a little bit of flexibility there for the card. And that is card number 3. Grab your supplies and make these before the washer is done. Need some more inspiration? I got you. Here's another sweet and simple class.